HQ, Africa Corps, Tunis, January 1943. Smell of German ersatz eggs, sausages, and Marlene Dietrich. A phone rings. General Stoopnagel salutes it and picks it up. Spielen! Goring. Do you know where von Rommel is? It's urgent. Stoopnagel. General von Urgent? Goring. Don't make whiz the fuck about. Where is Rommel? Stoopnagel. He's in the shit house. Goring. What is he doing in there at this time of the morning? Stoopnagel. He's doing the shits. He was bombed all night. Goring. Donner Blitzen. Stoopnagel. He's in the shit house too. Goring. Listen. We have had bad news. Stoopnagel. Bad news? That sounds like bad news. Goring. Our spy, Mrs. Ethel Noss, in the Algiers Naffy, says that the Britishers have brought up the heavy artillery into the Africa. Stoopnagel. Got no. Goring. Got yes. They are going to make shoot-bang fire mit 200-pound shells. Stoopnagel. Oh, fuck. Goring. Tell Rommel the Führer wants him to get mit the Panzer and make mit the Africa Corps. Schnell! Scene changes to a German latrine in a wadi near Shatter el Arab. Enter Stoopnagel. Stoopnagel. Rommel? Which one are you in? Rommel. Number 7. Stoopnagel. You must go to Tunis at once. Rommel. Let me finish going in here first. Stoopnagel. There is a crisis out there. Rommel. There's a crisis in here. No paper. Ah! Stoopnagel. What is wrong? Rommel. Itchy powder on the seat. Stoopnagel. Ach, the British commandos have struck again. Now, read on. Ex-Camp, Cap Matafu, Algeria. If you read the first volume of this trilogy, you will know that in January 1943, 19 Battery, 56th Heavy Regiment Royal Artillery had arrived in the continent of Africa, which couldn't have cared less. We were in X-Camp. Soldiers under 14 couldn't get in without their parents. Calling it X for security was beyond comprehension, because there, in foot-high letters, was the sign, number 201 POW Camp. I could hear the Gestapo. Mein Führer, we have cracked the British code X. It means 201 POW Camp. Soon we'll know what POW means. The camp, situated up a dusty track 50 yards from the main Algiers road, was a rectangle covering 5 acres, surrounded by a double barbed wire fence 15 feet high. The view was beautiful, the light clear, brilliant, like Athens on a midsummer's day. Stretching to our left was a gradual curve of the coast with a latterclave of yellow sand, and finally Algiers proper, barely visible in the distance. To the right, turning crescent-like, was another beach that terminated in a dazzling white lighthouse at Cap Matifu. This was all described in the regimental diary thus: arrived ex-camp, Cap Matifu. Whatever happened to poetry? Algeria. The ground was like rocks. The nights were rent with gunners groaning, swearing, twisting, turning and revolving in their tents. Temperatures fluctuated. You went to sleep on a warm evening, and by dawn it dropped to freezing. We had to break our tents with hammers to get out. Dawn whittles caused frost-bitten appendages. The scream, "Help! I'm dying of indecent exposure!" We solved the problem. I stuffed my gas cape with paper and made a mattress. Gunner Forrest strapped old Daily Millers round his body. "I've always wanted to be in the news," he said, and fainted. Others dug holes to accommodate their hips and shoulders. At night we wore every bit of clothing we had. Then we rolled ourselves into 4 blankets. "We look 9 months gone," said Edgerton. "Any advance on 9, I cried. We slept warmly, but had overlooked the need to communicate with nature. It took a frantic searching through layers of clothing to locate one's willy. Some never did and had to sleep with a damp leg. Gunner Maunders solved the problem. He slid a 4-foot length of bicycle inner tube over his willy, secured it round his waist with string. He just had to stand and let go. Jealous, Gunner White sabotaged it. As Maunders slept, Fiend White tied knots in the bottom of the tube. Confined to camp. It is night. Gunner Simpson is darning something which is 4/5 hole and 1/5 sock. "I wonder when they let us into Algiers." "Will you get in, Randy, then?" said Gunner White, "because we've all had our last shag for a long time." "Are there French birds in Algiers?" "Yeah, they're red hot. Cert Crumpet." "You shagged one, then?" "No, but my dad told me about 'em in the First World War." They're not the same ones, are they?" One by one the soldiers would fall asleep. I lay awake, thinking, dreaming young man's dreams. Jazz music would go through my head. I could see myself as Bunny Berrigan, playing chorus after brilliant chorus in front of a big band, surrounded by admiring dancers. Suddenly, without warning, Strainer Jones lets off with a thunderous Boston blast. He had us all out of the tent in 10 seconds flat. Oh! One freezing dawn, we were awakened by a Lockheed Lightning repeatedly roaring over the camp. "Go and ask that bastard if he's going by road," said Edgerton. I got outside just as the plane made another dive. I shouted, "I hope you crash, you noisy bastard!" The plane raced seawards, hit the water and exploded. I was stunned. The gunners emptied from their tents to watch the flames burning on the sea. "Poor sod," said a gunner, and he was right. Reveille was sounding. "Listen," said Edgerton, cupping an ear. "They're playing our tune." My Day by Gunner Milligan. Dear Diary, oh, what a morning it's been. 06:30, Reveille. We were annoyed. 07:30, breakfast. Oh, yum, yum. 0900, first parade. Good morning, darling. 09:15, daily tasks. Who, me? 1300, lunch. More boiled shit. Oh, yum, yum. 14:15, second parade. Haven't we met before? 14:30, tasks. I've got a backache, so it's 16:45, fallout. Crash! 1800, guard mounting. Quick! Under the bed. A word about the food. Crap. Hard biscuits, soil ink, bully beef, jam, tea, every day, for all meals. The first week we spent route marching. The army works like this. If a man dies when you hang him, keep hanging him until he gets used to it. Marches were made more tolerable by Major Chaterjack insisting that we sing. A message would pass down the column. Gunners Milligan, Edgington, White and Devine forward. We gained the head of the column, and to the tune of Viva la Company we'd sing. The might of a nation was welded by one, all. Viva la Joe Stalin, solo. He hasn't half kicked up the shit from the Hun, altogether. Viva la Joe Stalin, viva la Joe, viva la Joe, viva la Joe, viva la Joe Stalin. We were young. We were enjoying the new adventure. 90% of the lads had never been abroad, and this was a bonus in their lives, even though it took a war to give it to them. Chalky White invented a new sound. On the first beat of the march, you crashed your foot down, and for the next 3 beats you trod quietly. The effect was crash, crash. We also added a groan at the end. We used to go crash, 2, 3, oh, crash, 2, 3, oh. Part 2 orders. Disciplinary action will be taken against other ranks responsible for the stamping and groaning on route marches. Signed, Major Chaterjack. I noted frangipani everywhere, but not yet in flower. Magenta-coloured bougainvilleas were in full bloom. Towards evening, the air was filled with the cloying perfume of jasmine. Belisarius was said to have placed one in his helmet at Tricoramaron, saying, "If I die, I will at least smell sweet." Generals, going into battle, then use perfume of jasmine. Hear what one general says. General Montgomery. "I use jasmine. I couldn't have won El Alamein without it. Get some today." Marches took us through timeless Arab villages, Ruiba, Aintaya, Fondouk. When we halted, I'd try the Arab coffee, piping hot, sweet. Oh, delicious. I watched Gunner White sip the coffee, then top it up with water. I explained the water was for clearing the palate. "I thought it was for cooling it down," said the descendant of the Crusaders. Lieutenant Joe Mostyn was Jewish, 5'6", and on bad days 5'2", and no matter how frequently he shaved, had a permanent blue chin. Try shaving from the inside, I suggested. His forte was scrounging grub. One route march, he bought 100 eggs for 12 francs. Having no way of transporting them, he made us carry one in each hand till we reached the camp. Puzzled wayfarers watched as British soldiers marched by, clutching eggs, accompanied by mass clucking. Water was rationed, but we were on the sea. At day's end, we'd plunge into the Blue Med. I watched the gunners, unfamiliar with salt water, trying to get their soap to lather. "There's something wrong with it," says Little. "Nothing can go wrong with soap," replied Forrest, who plunges into a furious effort to prove his point. "You're right," he finally concedes. "This soap is off." Naffy managers tried to understand how some 15 gunners all had soap that wouldn't lather. No one mentioned salt water. Dutifully, they exchanged the soaps. Next morning the soap lathered beautifully. This is bitter, said Forrest. That evening at swim parade, I watched Forrest and Little arguing about what had gone wrong with the soap since the morning. We all, of course, bathed starkers. The lads gave some wonderful displays of military tool-waving at passing ladies with cries of "Vive le sport!" or "Get in, Nob, it's your birthday!" It was all good stuff, and bore out Queen Victoria's belief that salt water has beneficial effects on the human body. There were dreadful gunners who floated on their backs playing submarines. At the approaching of a maritime phallus, Gunner Devine shouted, "Achtung! Fire and torpedo!" and threw a pebble and hit the periscope, which would sink with a howl of pain. A nasty trick was invented by Gunner Timms. Tie a rock to a piece of string, make a noose at the other end, next dive under unsuspecting, happily swimming gunner, slip noose over end of willy, let go rock, retire to safe distance. Mind you, some gunners liked it. You can get used to anything, I suppose. We had received no mail. "They've forgotten us. Out of sight, out of mind," says Gunner Woods, scratching himself in bed. "You're always moaning," said Hooter Price. "I got a wife and 2 kids, and I bet they haven't forgotten me." "With that bleeding great nose, I don't suppose they can." "Look, a large nose is a sign of intelligence. The Duke of Wellington had one." "Yeah, he had one, but you look like you got 2. And how come you're only a bleeding driver, eh?" "I chose to stay with the men," said Price with great indignation. In the dark, a boot bounced off his nut. One morning, on Part 2 orders, 0800 hours, Gunner Milligan, S. Golding, Hart E. Wenham B. report to Sergeant Andrews for camouflage course. Now this consisted of climbing over walls, ditches, fences, fag packets, in fact, anything. The course showed how it was possible to climb any tall obstruction. It became known as leaping. I wrote a letter home to my brother Desmond explaining how leaping could be done in Civvy Street. My dear Des, in Africa we are all playing silly buggers. We are on a course teaching us how to leap anything that stands in our way. I think this could be introduced at home to encourage fitness among the wartime civilian population. For example, leaping stones could be installed in the home. The stone, about 3 foot high by 2 foot wide, could be cemented in all the doorways in the home, including one at the foot of the stairs. A leapometer is attached to the ankle of every member of the family, which records the number of leaps per person per day. Those who showed disinterest can have a small explosive charge fixed to the groin, which detonates should the person try climbing round the stone. This will cause many a smoke-blackened crotch, but with our new spray-on crotch hole, a few squirts leaves the groins gleaming white and free of foul pest. Think of the enervating joys of leaping stones. Sunday morning, and the whole household rings with the shouts of "Hoy, hup, hola!" Grannies, uncles, mothers, cripples, all leaping merrily from one room to another for wartime England. Ah, there's true patriotism. We have high hopes that more progressive young politicians with an eye to eliminating senile MPs intend to have a great Westminster leaping stone that will be placed dead centre of the great entrance doors on the opening day. Mr. Churchill could start the leaping, and those failing will of course be debarred. You can try and assist the failed member over the leaping stone by applying hot pokers to the seat. Thus the smell of scorched flesh, burning hairs and screams can bring a touch of colour to an otherwise dull wartime England. I don't know when I'll post this letter. I might deliver it tomorrow by hand, ankle, foot and clutched elbow. As ever, your loving brother, Terry. To help kill boredom in the camp, I started a daily news bulletin posted outside my tent. Ex-Camp 201 POW Millie News. Libya. Last night, under cover of drunken singing, British commanders with their teeth blacked out raided an advanced Italian laundry. Several vital laundry lists were captured, and a complete set of Marshal Gandolfo's underwear, which showed he was on the run. China. Chinese troops are reported in the area with their eyes at the slope. Syria. It is reported that Australian troops have taken Cascara. They're trying to keep it dark, but it's leaking out in places, and the troops are evacuating all along the line. Rome. Il Duce told the Italian people not to worry about the outcome of the war. If they lost, he had relatives in Lyons Corner House, from whence he would run the government in exile. Local news. Sanitary orderly Little takes pleasure in announcing his new luxury long-drop Kazi. The word Kazi, by the way, from the Zulu word Nkazi, meaning WC. Secluded surroundings, screened from the world's vulgar gaze by Hessian. Plentiful supply of army form blank, booked now to avoid disappointment in the dysentery season. "Here, when are we going to be allowed into Algiers?" says Gunner Edwards, who was cutting Gunner Knott's hair and making his head look like a Mills grenade. But they're frightened to let us in. We might get into the Casbah and catch Sif. That's all cobblers. They're stopping us so the officers can screw all the best birds first, and that's your democracy for you, said Gunner Thorpe, who was scraping his toenails with a jackknife. You're talking balls. Just because you get first bash at a French start don't mean you're democratic. I mean, shagging a bird is the same if you're a commie or a fascist. Fucking is real democracy. A solemn cheer greeted this. Look, if none of us ever had a screw again, we had enough Hoggins in Bexhill to last forever. Cries of no, never, resign. A man can never have enough Hoggins. A good shag clears the custard, said Gunner Balfour, as he wrote a tender love letter to his wife. Gunner Maunders, his feet reeking, sits up in bed. They say French tarts can shag all night on one dinner. That's right, said Lance Bombardier Denning. They can shag round the clock in any position. Good, said Gunner Knott. From now on, I'm going to shag laying down. No more banging away standing in Bexhill doorways in the shape of a cripple. The cries of knee trembler, knee trembler. Discussions on sex took up a large proportion of Gunner's working hours. The nearest thing to it was the estaminet at Jean Bart, a quarter of a mile from the camp. There, apart from the booze, was a barmaid whose bulging bosoms floated along the top of the bar with never less than 100 pairs of eyes to help them on their way. Many hot-blooded gunners ruptured themselves just staring. Try only looking at one at a time, I advised them. There was no shortage of alcohol. We guzzled muscatel, about 80% proof. The real proof was 100% stone gunners spark out in the gutters. Those who could stagger would go down to the beach. Naked, we'd sit waist-deep in the water to sober up. One such night, January the 19th, the port of Algiers had a sudden attack of air raid. Soon the sky was a mass of exploding shells, flaming onions and searchlights. We sat and enjoyed it. It's lovely, said Edgerton. Yes, it's lovely, I agreed. Gunner Roberts took from the waters to don his steel helmet. What German is going to bypass Algiers to bomb you, you silly bastard, said Edgerton. What they say, on a moonlight night an airman can see a bald head from 20,000 feet, said Roberts. You haven't got a bald head, says I. Well, no, but I'm not waiting till the last minute, says Roberts. I go back to the beach and return with fags. Tar, says Edgerton. Nothing like a wet cigarette covered in bloody sand. We sat silent. Edgerton spoke. Milligan, see if your airplane curse still works. I stood up. I waited till the German plane was caught in a searchlight. Then I shouted, I hope you bloody will crash. Nothing happened. Perhaps the pilot's deaf, said Edgerton. I hope you bloody well crash. Look, we're too far away, said Edgerton. Oh, let's forget it. Forget what? See, you've forgotten it already. He, too, forgetting, lay back and disappeared below the surface. He reappeared sputtering. This water's unreliable, he said. We dressed and started to wander back. It was dark. Being nyptolotic, I always carried a torch. Suddenly, in the beam, hopped an animal. Look, I said. It's a jerboa. Jerboa, I asked. That's a kangaroo, said Forrest. What's a kangaroo doing in Africa? There's no such animal, Milligan said. You made the word up. On the Bible, it's true. Bible? You're an agnostic. OK. I swear on Tiger Tim's Weekly. Halt! Who goes there? Came the midnight challenge. Hitler, I said. You can't be. He came in 10 minutes ago. OK. We don't know who we are. We're Military Amnesics Anonymous. What's the password? We give up. What is the password? I'm waiting, said the sentry. So we. Give us a clue. The clue is, what's the password? Just a minute, said Edgerton. I've got it written down here on a piece of paper. Ah, the word is fish. That was last night. Chips? No. Shirley Temple. I don't know why they put me on sentry duty, said the demoralised sentry. There's 70 blokes come in the last 2 hours and not one bugger remembered the word. It's a waste of bloody time. Sod Churchill. We gave him a rousing cheer and he let us in.